Now it's 6 o'clock. Hurricane Dorian wreaks havoc on the Bahamas. As the death toll rises, new video shows just how awful the damage is.
Just from the air, it looks completely level.
Humanitarian aid groups are now working to get relief to thousands of victims. And Dorian's not done as the storm creeps closer to the U.S. mainland.
This storm is strong and it's relentless. We must be ready.
Plus, an arrest 4 decades in the making. How detectives just tied a Gresham man to a cold case murder in Alaska that happened 41 years ago. Also this morning, hitting the road to help families get off the streets. A Vancouver chaplain and his brother are cycling more than 2,000 miles on Route 66, raising funds to end the cycle of homelessness. Those stories and more are coming up in your 6 o'clock hour of KGW News at Sunrise, which starts right now.
And we begin your Wednesday morning with this live look at the lights of Yaquina Bay in Newport. Good morning to all of our viewers along the coast.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for waking up with us on this Wednesday. We've got a lot to get to this morning. Let's start with a check on our forecast from Rod in the Weather Center. Good morning, Rod.
Good morning. Bus stop time. By the way, we have to wait until after 6:30 now to see that sun pop up. And we do have areas of low clouds this morning, both around Portland, Vancouver, and down into Salem. About 62 out the door. Turns into a sunny day, 70 at lunchtime, about 82 for a high temperature. Of course, we're still watching Hurricane Dorian. The news this morning is generally good from my chair. About 100 miles out to sea from Daytona Beach. Florida reports right now show this storm producing mainly light to moderate rainfall, temps in the 70s and gusty winds between 30 and 40 miles per hour along the Florida coast at this hour, guys. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Rod. And from Florida to Virginia, preparations are underway for Hurricane Dorian. This morning, more than 1 million people from Florida through the Carolinas have been told to evacuate.
Families are packing up. They're pulling out right now as Dorian slowly heads north, and state leaders are issuing stark warnings about the threat posed by this storm.
This is not a storm to mess with, as we have seen how deadly it was when it went across the Bahamas.
Officials in the Bahamas now confirm at least 7 people were killed by Dorian. Take a look at this aerial video now. It shows the absolute devastation left behind, which, again, Bahamas taking a direct hit for more than 24 hours straight. There's debris there. It's filling the fields there for miles, houses surrounded by water, boats littered across the islands. The neighboring Grand Bahama Island was hit with record floods. Satellite pictures show it was nearly swallowed up by the sea. Crews on military helicopters are working to get the survivors to the capital of Nassau. It's estimated some 60,000 people will need food and water. Groups from around the United States are heading to the Bahamas as soon as possible now to get that relief effort we're talking about.
Members of Portland-based Mercy Corps are among those making the trip to the battered islands. KGW's Tim Gordon is joining us now in studio with more on those efforts. Good morning, Tim.
Hey, good morning, Brenda and Drew. The team hopes to get to Grand Bahamas, which has been devastated. And then once they get a look at actual conditions on the ground, that will determine how long Mercy Corps aid workers will stay put. It could be weeks. The International Red Cross says nearly every person on the island of Abaco and Grand Bahama needs some form of humanitarian assistance.
We know that we will see issues with potable water, with food, with basic household items, power outages. So this is typically what we find in hurricanes.
Mercy Corps is going to be bringing a few things along to make sure the team is totally self-sufficient on the island. That includes solar power, food, and filters to make the water there safe. And by the way, American Medical Response has some local workers going. They'll be helping FEMA with the disaster response. Drew?
All right, Tim, thanks a lot. We're going to track Hurricane Dorian throughout the morning here on Sunrise. And the Today Show will also cover the storm. Today Show anchor Craig Melvin is in Florida right now. He'll join us with a report from the ground. He'll actually join us before the Today Show starts, next half hour right here on Sunrise. You can also keep up with the latest on the storm at KGW.com or on our news app.
And here locally, the Red Cross is helping people who were displaced by this 2-alarm fire overnight. This is a live look at that scene near Southeast 60th Avenue and Flavel Drive. Just look at the damage. This fire broke out around 12:30 last night, but crews were able to get it under control. Portland Fire saying there were no injuries, but this house just destroyed. No word yet on a cause.
The trial has started for 3 men injured when an Amtrak train derailed in Washington 2 years ago. They're demanding compensation from Amtrak, and a jury will decide how much money they'll get. The NTSB ruled Amtrak didn't train its workers properly, and that was partly responsible for the crash. Even the company admits it made mistakes. 5 people died and dozens were injured when the train derailed on its way from Tacoma to Portland.
A Gresham man, meanwhile, will be in court this morning facing charges for a murder dating back more than 4 decades. Investigators broke the cold case open this year thanks to new DNA testing. So this is the suspect. He's 62-year-old Donald McQuaid. He's accused of killing then 16-year-old Shelley Connolly in Anchorage, Alaska, back in 1978. Alaska State Troopers started working with Gresham detectives on this case earlier this year. The local investigators collected some of McQuaid's cigarette butts, and troopers were able to match those butts with DNA from the murder scene. McQuaid is expected to be extradited to Alaska today.
Also, new developments in another unsolved mystery. Marion County deputies have now found the body of a hiker who disappeared more than 3 years ago. This is 21-year-old Riley Zickel. He vanished after telling his parents he was going camping on the Pacific Crest Trail on Mount Jefferson. Hundreds of people searched for him when this happened in 2016. And now recently, climbers this week spotted Zickel's body on Mount Jefferson near where he was last seen. Crews brought him down to his family yesterday. Sheriff's deputies have also recovered the body of a woman who drowned floating the Willamette River near Salem. Tracy Allen of Vancouver was with a group of friends Saturday when they hit a bunch of tree roots underwater and flipped over. Authorities say even though she was wearing a life jacket, she was likely pulled underwater by the roots of those trees.
We're learning more about the deadly shooting in Montavilla we told you about yesterday morning here on Sunrise. We now know the victim is a Portland mother who was walking home from a park with her teenage daughter. Her family says she was murdered over a noise complaint. 41-year-old Denise Elliott was at the park near Berrydale School around 11:30 Monday night. Her dad says somebody came out of a house across the street and told her and her teenage daughter to be quiet. He says the man then followed them back to their house and shot Denise.
Well, I can't understand how somebody would shoot somebody over noise. I don't give a how much noise they're making. Why would you shoot somebody? Why would a man shoot a woman to begin with? I mean, I just can't understand that.
So far, police aren't commenting on the investigation, but no one has been arrested. This was the 4th shooting in the Montavilla neighborhood in just over a week.
A Kelso marijuana shop is out more than $250,000 after thieves stole 150 pounds of weed. So these are photos right now of Cascade Mountain Cannabis. The owner of that shop says 5 or 6 suspects cut a hole in the back of the building to get inside. They also damaged some of the shop's surveillance cameras. The company is now offering a $5,000 reward for any information that leads to the thieves' arrest or conviction.
Now to national headlines in your morning rush. The Coast Guard suspending its search for those still missing after that deadly boat fire off the California coast. 33 passengers and 1 crew member that were below deck when the fire broke out near the galley are all presumed dead. At least 20 bodies have been found. Others have been spotted inside the wreckage of the boat. 5 crew members that were on the top deck were able to escape. It was out on a 3-day scuba dive trip for Labor Day weekend. No cause yet of that fire. Walmart announcing it'll end the sale of ammunition at its stores nationwide, and it comes a month after a shooting at one of its stores in El Paso. Walmart says it'll stop selling the ammo for handgun and short barrel rifles after it runs out of that inventory. It's also asking people in open carry states to stop bringing guns into stores. Singer R. Kelly back in court today for the first of several court hearings this month. Today's focus, the singer's current jail conditions. His defense attorney said in a filing that Kelly has been in solitary confinement and wants to be moved. R. Kelly faces multiple sex crime charges. Facebook tinkering with the idea of not showing you how many likes you get on your posts. This is similar to what they tested on Instagram in a couple countries last month. So you would see a list of people and their reactions to your post, but a number wouldn't be displayed. And the idea is to curb the obsession with getting likes on things you post. And that is your morning rush. So you still get the list, And then you can like hand count one.
Oh my goodness.
Just
you know
for your
people
own
would.
insanity.
So the obsession will just take longer to obsess about.
Exactly.
But the reasoning behind it, I think, is
It's
good,
smart,
right?
yes.
No, I mean, people get that dopamine hit for seeing who likes
Well,
what
go
I'm
all the
saying.
way then. If that's a good reason, which it is, then go all the way. Remove the likes, the number, and then remove the people. I mean,
What's the point, Drew?
I guess. Well, I'm saying you can still count the number. So what's the difference?
I know.
Time